way in hell that the United States drug policy is going to be my moral compass. Thank you. We're a sovereign nation. Mm-hmm. We should be allowed to make up our own rules. I mean, we had a prime minister who was brave enough to say we aren't going to go to war. Why shouldn't we be able to have a say on what we do within our country? Imagine if the government controlled that and was able to make money off it that would then go back into the system to help people. That's all.
The Ministry of Pot, or what are we talking here?
Although marijuana is illegal again, a door has been opened. And now, the Canadian marijuana movement prepares to push further than it ever has before. And while Canada moves forward on gay marriage, the U.S. administration promises to move against it.
I proposed a constitutional amendment. The reason I did so was because I was worried that activist judges are actually defining the definition of marriage.
About the same time in Canada, the Canadian Oxford Dictionary would redefine its definition of marriage.
I don't think personally that God is against us. I think God's on our side, and that's why we keep winning.
In Canada, gay marriage is spreading quickly.
And you can come and take our marriage licenses from our cold, dead hands.
But in the U.S., the anti-same-sex marriage campaign is gaining momentum along with the election. And then something amazing takes place. The state of California annuls the weddings of over 4,000 gay couples. In America, same-sex marriage is being wiped off the map. In Vancouver, Dakine is an unprecedented hit. The store is pulling in as much as $30,000 a day selling marijuana and hash. There is a new customer almost every 2 minutes. Organizers agree to this interview, fearing something is about to happen.
It's the Civil Wars, Indy. It's a euphoric peace breaking out that you wouldn't believe how hard this is. Not today. I mean, the cops follow us. They tap our phones. They seize our assets. They throw us in jail. They beat us up. Listen, they can't do this stuff. They work for us.
A few days later, the police move in. Commercial Drive is closed off, and shooting is halted across the street on the set of Hollywood blockbuster The Fantastic Four. The police drug squad goes into action.
Yep. Sir, you're gonna have to step back, please.
Very loud bang, and the door was kicked in.
Much like you would see in an American movie, with a SWAT team in full battle dress.
Wearing ski masks, balaclavas, with guns drawn.
Upon our entry, we entered the store at approximately 5:45 and located 41 people inside.
Acting as if we were gangsters.
All 7 of the staff members were taken into custody and listed for trafficking.
We are members of the community, we're taxpayers, we're citizens.
This evening we have executed a warrant at the Dakine Cafe. This is a warrant that we had thoroughly investigated and with due diligence received a search warrant in a lawful manner. We are now executing that warrant. At this point, we don't believe this has anything to do with compassion or with medical exemptions. This has nothing to do with that. This is open trafficking, and they've been very blatant and in how they've done that, and they've flaunted it as well to the community.
Hearing all this yelling, what's this tell you in this neighborhood? Some people in this neighborhood certainly are very angered that you've done this.
I think there is overwhelming support by other neighborhood members that want to see this shut down. The role of the Vancouver Police Department is to uphold the law. Thanks, everyone.
These guys are just towing the American line. This is our street, this is our city, and this is what we want. Resistance is futile. I've heard that before. That's the Borg on Star Trek.
I'm just telling you.
0 complaints of any harm done. The worst thing they said about this place was people were walking up and down the street high, which happened anyway.
Though we were told by the mayor and Jim Green, there was not one complaint about this place, and now we're hearing there were complaints. And what were the dates for complaints?
Just through Crime Stoppers on the 26th.
Well, I've lived here for 16 years, and I've never seen the street as clean of drug dealers as I have since this place opened. I don't smoke pot myself, and I'm against drugs, but I feel that pot is a lot less harmful than alcohol. And I think that if people can come in here and buy their pot here in a safe environment and get their money's worth, they're not going to go to the street dealers. And the street dealers realize this now, and they've disappeared. Now, you never see them. It's nothing but good.
I'm actually a medical user. I'm part of the Compassion Club and for HIV, and helps me with appetite and things like that. And I was one of the first people to come to Dakine, and I think that if this place is closed down, it's because they stood up and lifted their head above the crowd and tried to do what was right, and that they are being like with the arrest of Mark Emery, that it's a political thing, and that it's actually, Prohibition is seeing its end, and that it's always darkest before the dawn.
Mark Emery helped create the Pot Block, founded the BC Marijuana Party, and sparked the summer of legalization. He has sold millions of marijuana seeds around the world and smoked hundreds of joints in public without getting serious trouble from the Canadian courts.
No court here has even ever sent me to jail.
But his time may be up.
I haven't left Canada in 7 years. And even other countries where I'd be permitted to travel, the United States could have me picked up on warrants in any of these places, and there's no security unless you're in your home country.
In this interview, Emery seems to predict the future.
They'll come and get you. If they want you, they'll issue a warrant and get a compliant government to arrest you. So
Mark Emery of Vancouver, British Columbia, was arrested today by the RCMP and the Halifax Police Department on a warrant from the Western District of Washington. Mr. Emery was indicted by a federal grand jury in Seattle in May of this year. This was after an 18-month investigation involving millions of dollars of marijuana seeds that Mr. Emery sold in person, over the internet, and by mail. A conspiracy to distribute marijuana seeds and a conspiracy to engage in money laundering. The maximum penalty for these charges is life in prison.
The unbelievable is happening. America is reaching into Canada to take out the Prince of Pot.
The U.S. Attorney's Office here in the Western District has filed an extradition request with the Government of Canada.
But why does the DEA want Emery now? He's been selling marijuana seeds for over 10 years.
This was after an 18-month investigation.
What was Emery doing 18 months before the May indictment?
Marijuana is legal now. This is the only jurisdiction in the Western world.
Mark Emery was traveling Canada, completing the summer of legalization, pointing out there was a very big hole in the marijuana laws in this part of North America.
He is a drug dealer.
Is the Prince of Pot a drug dealer?
If you, the Canadian people, allow me to be extradited, you will never see me alive again.
It's America's war on drugs versus Canada's new spirit. And the Prince of Pot's armies are on the march. Canada may be moving back on the marijuana front, but on gay marriage, it appears to be winning when Canada's Supreme Court okays same-sex marriage.
We've embraced equal marriage. It's available in 75% of the Canadian population right now, and the sky has not fallen.
We didn't have to kill people. Children aren't maimed or hurt.
Right, and it didn't cost anything.
Heterosexuality remains as popular as ever.
We can't be defeated now. The war is over.
Not so fast. Just across the border, President George W. Bush is re-elected.
The President of the United States!
They said, that you are responsible for Bush's re-election because he made his whole campaign about anti-equal marriage, and if if you hadn't shaken up this whole thing, you know, it wouldn't have happened.
Suddenly, the anti-same-sex marriage movement in Canada comes alive.
I believe we have to say no to this. If Christians have never risen up before in this country, and they haven't often enough, they must do so now.
U.S. money is being pumped into the country, into ads and campaigns, in a last-ditch effort to reverse same-sex marriage in Canada.
As Prime Minister, will maintain the traditional definition of marriage, the union of one man.
This is worse than World War. Everybody knows that what happened to Denmark. Their crime rate is increased tenfold. Do you want to destroy your own children?
And watch, God will punish us with tsunami, guys.
Married! I'm gonna get married to my girlfriend. We are queer. I love her. I love her. We're friends.
The forces opposing same-sex marriage are suddenly formidable. And with American financing, it looks like they could win. The decision will go before Canada's Parliament for a final vote. A massive rally descends on Ottawa.
Do you believe they're still coming? They're still coming. There's a few people in this country who believe that marriage is one man and one woman. Keep moving to the right, everybody. Keep moving to the right. We got lots of space over here. To legalize prostitution. To legalize marijuana. And to redefine marriage. Our values are the real Canadian values.
Is this the end of the new Canadian dream? Why did you choose Canada for your marriage?
Because it's really the only place you can. You know, it's not a domestic partnership, and it's not a civil union, and it's not any of that separate but equal stuff, but it's like equality. You know, it's something that you never ever in your lifetime thought you'd see. And we're getting married, you know?
And I thank God that President Bush has stated we need a constitutional amendment that states that marriage is between a man and a woman. I'm trying to find a correct name for it. This utter, absolute, asinine, idiotic stupidity of men marrying men.
I solemnly declare that I do not know of any lawful impediment
I've never seen a man in my life I wanted to marry.
My eyes may not be joined in matrimony to Christine Jeanette Ford.
And I'm going to be blunt and plain. If one ever looks at me like that, I'm going to kill him and tell God he died.
I call on these present
to witness that I, Christine Jeanette Ford, take Sandra Leticia Hernandez, to be my lawful wedded wife.
In case that anybody doesn't know, God calls it an abomination. It's an abomination.
To love and to cherish.
It's an abomination.
From this day forward.
On June 28th, just a few weeks after the massive rally against same-sex marriage, the Canadian Parliament makes history. it passes a vote legalizing same-sex marriage across the entire country.